In the great hall of the Justice League, there are assembled the world's 4 greatest heroes, created from the cosmic legends of the universe.
Johnny Rocket, Rodger Paxton, Chris Spangle, Marc Claire, welcome to the League of Liberty, episode number 10. We are so excited to be back with you guys again. We missed last month, but we are back and we are ready to rock and roll. We have got myself, Rodger, with the Lava Flow podcast. We have got Mr. Man with the Mane, Marc Claire with Lions of Liberty. Marc, say hi.
Hello. Roar.
Roar. We have got Mr. Johnny Rocket from Johnny Rocket Blast Off. Johnny, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How you guys doing?
Fantastic. And last and certainly least, we have Chris Spangle from the We Are Libertarians podcast.
Rodger, you ugly mother effer.
Love you, Chris.
I love you too, buddy.
Anyway, so I mean, so first of all, I want to apologize to all of our listeners for last month. That was totally my fuck up. I double booked my evening, and everybody else had a busy month, so we completely missed last month, and I take full blame for that. So I'm sorry for that, but we are back in action and ready to go. And so here we are.
Did anyone even notice? That's the real question.
I didn't even notice.
That's pretty sad, actually.
You know, it actually worked out good for everyone because I was busy. I was really busy.
Yeah, Johnny's been getting busy a lot lately, it seems like. So what's new with everybody? Marc, what's going on with you lately?
Geez, I'm surprised you started with me. I was prepared for Johnny to go first since he has the biggest news of all.
Okay, well, we'll start with Johnny then. He does have some really big news, so let's hear it, Johnny.
I am engaged.
Wow. On purpose?
Yeah. Yes, I guess right now we're trying to figure out if we're going to get the state involved. Just to, you know, because there's certain things that, you know, we're like, what do we do? We're anarchists. What do we do? You know, like we could do this all through contractual agreements. But yet, you know, things like health insurance and stuff like that, that's stuff that you actually have to be, you know, prove. But other than that, man, everything's great. I have another cigarette, man. Jesus.
Yeah, I've told my wife many times that when the government finally gets out of marriage and leaves it to individuals, I'm going to divorce her ass in a second. and I will. I mean, we're going to get the government out of our fucking relationship because, I mean, honestly, the only reason we have the government involved is because of, you know, tax breaks, healthcare, kids, that sort of shit.
Well, it started off as a racist thing because they didn't want anyone marrying anyone else. So they didn't want white girls marrying black guys. That's where it started.
Oh, I thought, Johnny, you were talking about your relationship.
We're attracted to each other due to our racism.
Right.
So we got along great.
Johnny did grab my ass at Porkfest, just saying.
I did. And it was very firm, man. Actually.
To prove he's not racist against the white man. I only saw Johnny kissing and touching white men, now that I think about it.
He didn't even get near Eric July or the guy that we thought was Eric July.
Or JB, also known as Eric July.
In other words, both black guys at Porkfest.
Right.
To be clear, we're not racist. We're just describing other people that might be racist.
That's right.
That's not a joke. Multiple people did go like, is that Eric July to any black guy? And not starting off like I started doing it as a joke at some point, but in the beginning it was not a joke.
That's just wrong. Oh my God.
Well, so, now and in fairness, one guy did sort of look like.
Look, they all really don't look alike. I promise.
Okay, Eric July's going to hear this and be like, "You motherfuckers."
Whose show does he support?
He supports mine. No shit away.
And he has a sense of humor. So.
No, actually we just had him on the show. He's awesome. I love Eric. He's really smart. He can talk. Get him on your show, man. You just sit back. Eric, how's it going? I'll tell you what, man.
So anyway, Johnny, you started, but you buried the lead. Who are you engaged to?
Yeah. Marc Claire.
Marc Claire. No, presidential. She's running for president, Miss Kimberly Ruff.
Yes.
And I tell you what, she is just amazing. Amazing woman.
Hey, and I like it rough, just saying.
That's right. I play on the rough. And it's a golf term. No, guys, seriously, it's been a whirlwind adventure with her, and we see eye to eye on everything. I think maybe there's 1% where we both are like, I don't know, but politically the same of mind and heart. And she is really, I mean, super smart. I mean, I'm just blown away that I lucked out with someone as good as she is.
Yeah, well, we're super excited for that. So anything else to share, Johnny, before we move on?
Yeah, actually, right now we're doing a blast off CD for our Patreon subscribers, $5 and above, and it's music from the show.
Oh, nice.
So we're getting it mixed and mastered right now, and the artwork's done, and it looks cool. I'm excited to get this thing out because I love putting CDs out.
Yeah.
So if you're like a $2 subscriber, you get the free download, and if you're $5 and above, you're going to get the CD. And it should be available in about 3 to 4 weeks.
So how much do I have to pay to get the mixtape version?
You can just do $2 an episode.
Okay.
Where do I illegally download it?
Right.
How about this? I'll just send you guys a damn CD.
Napster.
Right?
Why didn't you ask us to record like background riffs? Or
Honestly,
Well,
it's gonna have like one track that featured the League of Liberty.
have you ever heard me sing Journey?
No, and we don't want to.
no, we don't. Don't stop believing.
Oh, God.
Okay, but what I'm saying is it's cool because it's like a lot of rockabilly artists that are in the CD. So it's really cool. And then we have like little intermissions and little segments we sprinkle in throughout the CD. So I think it's kind of a cool project.
Nice. Very nice. So moving on to Mr. Marc Claire. What's going on in the land of the roar, sir?
You know, I didn't have anything ready because I thought you were going to ask Chris about his big news. I can't do that thing twice, can I? I can't do that.
No, your turn.
Now, things are going good. We are just rolling along as the number one libertarian variety show out there. And now we have even more variety because we've been doing this extra show the last almost 2 months now. Candidates of Liberty, featuring libertarian candidates across the country and getting their stories out there and their campaigns out there to more people. So we've been getting a lot of good feedback from that. So we're just rolling along, and our Patreon's doing great. We just, I think, Patreon's confusing because they show us what we get and what the pledges are, and then what the total we take in is. But I think our total is almost 1,200 right now, which
Nice.
I think the last time I did a show, it was we just passed 1,000. So we're moving in the right direction. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just hit today $297 per episode times 4 or 5 depending on the month. So I'm right at 1,200 too. So
It's so conflicting for me because I like your show, so I like to hear more episodes. But when you do more, I pay you more. So I'm like, damn it! I just like, oh, an episode of Lava Flow. Damn it! I'm paying more money.
well, I did that. I mean, there's a reason I did that in the beginning was because I wanted to force myself that, hey, if I'm not going to do a show, I'm not going to get paid. And so, it works out great because if I do miss a week or two, like I did last month when I was working 80 hours a week, then, people don't have to pay for it. So it worked out great.
Makes sense.
So I do the same thing you do, Rodger. I do it per episode, but I just charge them like a scheduled show.
Yeah.
See, I'll do specials, which are like maybe 30, 40 minutes, not a full show. And then I feel guilty by charging them. For that. So,
Yeah, I only do it on my regular shows. I don't do it on anything
exactly.
special.
I'm not.
That's I had the same thing, and that's why I ended up I switched to monthly just because then it's easy for them to understand. It's easy for us on the creator side to know, okay, this is what's coming in. And then also you don't have that, I don't want to charge them for this because this is a weird thing. And yeah, because I have that all the time too, Johnny, where it's like, okay, but this isn't the regular show. Do I like charge patrons? And so yeah, I think it's a flat thing. Everybody knows exactly what they're getting and all the like.
I think you should just be clear. Like if you're we're doing a show, expect to be charged once a week. That's kind of like it should be described in the disclaimer, That's what I do.
Yeah, I'm pretty clear about it in my show that it is, per episode, and I focus on that quite heavily. So I think that my listeners at least expect that. So it works out well for us. Nobody's been complaining, and I'm certainly not complaining, bringing in the money. So, and it's that money has really helped do a lot for the show for sure. I mean, it keeps me to where I can do it every week now, even without a full-time, day-to-day, 9 to 5 type job. I'm still able to do that because of that money that's coming in. So it's, I couldn't be happier.
And I think for all of us, thank you to everybody listening for supporting our shows, even if you don't support all or one, or you at least support one. But
and if you don't, why are you listening to this? How did you
exactly.
Tell us what your source is.
We're gonna go full Kavanaugh on this and investigate all of our Patreons.
Right.
I just like to say right now, I have been blackout drunk many times, teenagerhood and adulthood.
I've seen it.
I like beer.
So,
I see
but
the
I will say,
where he just says beer like 10,000 times.
but it is amazing the extra amount of stuff that you can do. It's like when you get the Patreon money coming in, Patreon hit the bank account today, and then so did the withdrawals for all the services that I use. And, it's just, and it just amplifies things like so much more when you have that extra money coming in. And it, like Rodger said, it's extra incentive to do more content.
Yep.
And it keeps you more accountable too, because then you're like, I can't blow this week off. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this.
Yep.
And I think the best part, and I don't know about you guys if you've experienced this, but I've experienced a better community around my show. I know the audience better. I know, the 120 people that are patrons. I'd say probably 75% of them interact with me, and you really actually put a face to your listeners, because once they're kind of investing in you, then they feel more engaged and are more communicative with you. I think that's the best part, is because you really start to get a feel for who is listening to your show.
Yeah, I had a conversation with 3 separate supporters of mine just today. One of them, 2 of them on Wire, one of them on Facebook. So, I mean, I'm always interacting with these people. Absolutely. I think not only does it make the show better, because I know, who my audience is much better than I would if it were just me talking to a mic. I mean, I'm actually interacting with these folks and knowing what they want to hear. It really makes my show absolutely better. And of course, having the money to be able to afford to do things, makes the show possible. So
now, when you interact with them, do they maintain their pledgeship after that?
99.9% of the time. There was that one time I talked to you, and anyway.
It was a costly conversation, wasn't it?
Right. So, Marc, did you have anything else new going on that you wanted to tell everybody about?
Not unless there's something I don't know.
No, I just was making sure before I moved on to Chris, because
it is the doldrums of summer have ended, and I'm actually curious, since we're on a Patreon feed. I'm willing to talk about it because they're ticking back up, so my mood is better. But this happens every summer. I noticed like a slight downtick in downloads over the summer. Is that a common thing?
Yeah, I lost $18 per episode in like 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of September. And it was like, ouch, what did I say to piss people off?
Well, our money went up, but the downloads of like our actual podcast numbers, they tend to make a summer dip, and then now they're back going,
Yeah, this is, so I work.
The best for me. Summer is the best.
So maybe everyone stops listening to our shows and they listen to all Johnny's shit every summer.
Yeah.
No, because it is people listen based on their personal patterns, and so this happens in radio too. Because I work in the radio industry, and so summer and spring break and the holidays, there's always a dip in ratings because people go on vacation, or it's when there's kids are in school. It's like right now is when people are kind of they're in the car a lot. They're sitting watching their kid play soccer, so they may listen to a podcast. But when it's summertime, they're a little more active and they don't have as much time to listen to podcasts. So no, it definitely, there is a dip, and it definitely is real, and you're not alone.
My life changes in no way, shape, or form during, I guess it's because I don't have kids in summer months or anything like that, and I don't have seasons because I live in LA. So
yeah,
doesn't change at all.
Must be nice. So, Chris, what's going on new with you, sir?
So we tested out over the last month. I was doing 7 shows a week there for a while, and I about killed myself for many different reasons. But it was a lot of fun. It was really interesting to do. So I have a feed called The Chris Spangle Show, and I was doing a little 20-minute mini wall every day about the news and some other things. And I learned a lot, because it's really interesting when you do a daily show, when we all do weekly shows. And so you have a lot of space to think about things and kind of process things and do a little more research. And it's a lot, I don't know, you put more thought into it probably, but when you're doing a daily thing, it's like you're just reading articles, it's just rip and read, and you have less time to think about stuff. You cover a lot more, and the audience liked it, but it was a lot. So I'm fortunate in that I have a stable of co-hosts that rotate in and out. And this is something that Harry Price said about 1.5 years ago, but we weren't really ready technically or institutionally ready to do this. That's my cat's tail. I'm fighting my cat as I'm trying to talk. My cat is... See, here's the thing. my cat is very needy, and so if I'm on the phone or if have somebody over or if I'm podcasting, she comes over and like rubs on me to make sure that everybody knows I'm hers.
One thing I never thought I would see in Chris's video feed is some pussy. Just saying.
Yes,
I
thank
was
you.
going to say, if anyone's just hearing the audio of this, I think I might put up the video on our Patreon. Our $10 and above people get our video stuff. But the video's worth it just to see a cat's tail randomly, slowly creep in front of Chris's camera from time to time.
Does a cat have an ass?
Right.
Does a cat
Yeah, make sure to share that video with me too, Mark. I want to share that with my guys.
There's my cat's
Yeah,
asshole.
I'll upload it.
My cat's asshole.
Come on, hang out. Come on, hang out with us.
Ooh,
Oh,
Okay,
that's terrible. God.
So, anyways, so back to the other cat's here now. The Daily Show. I'm not going to be able to do 7 shows a week. There's just, you guys know, it's like that's like poking holes in the bottom of your bucket. So you're constantly, you're filling your bucket with information. You're reading, doing a lot of research, and then you pour it out once a week. But then when it's a daily show, it's just constantly running. So it's a very aggressive schedule when you have a full-time job and somewhat of a life. People lately a lot look at me and go, "Do you have a life?" I was like, "No, I just sit at home and read with my cats." So we're going to now start rotating in some of these guest hosts to do more daily content. Sarah Brady Wagner, who does the Speaking of Liberty podcast. I met her at the convention. She's such a sharp person, and you three are always invited if you want to talk about a current event that really has a bug up your ass. Record a 20-minute little podcast, send it over. I'll put it in our feed and put it out there. And because, Johnny, like you were saying before we started, it's like, I really can't talk about current events. Well, I'm happy to, put that out there. And so we're going to start mixing some of that stuff in and just do more content, because I survey my audience all the time. I like to know what they're thinking, what they like, what they don't like, to always try and tweak my show to make sure that it is as user-friendly as possible. And one thing that I found is that they want more, and they want, a variety of voices. So I think this is going to be one thing that we can really, it'll probably take a couple weeks to get started, but yeah. So instead of just 2 a week, we're going to have 2 big shows and then just a couple, 2 or 3 20-minute shows in between. So we're giving everybody a chance to talk about what is grinding their gears about politics today.
here's the thing, Chris. One thing I noticed that you're doing, and we might implement, is the call-in thing you're doing. I thought it was a really cool idea. So I think we should all probably do it. It's like a Google thing where you just set up a Google account. People can leave a message, and then we can take that track and insert it in the edit for the show. So we're talking about doing something like that so people can actually call in and you have more audience engagement. You know what I mean? So
we're using something called SpeakPipe where people can go and just leave a voice memo. And the first 3 we got were like, I just discovered the show. I've listened to like 5 episodes already. I mean, so it's kind of cool to hear from new libertarians, people who just discovered the show, and they're like, one guy was like, I've been listening to your podcast at work because my cubicle mate plays it, and I didn't know what I was, but I think I'm a libertarian after listening to you guys. So I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have SpeakPipe on wearelibertarians.com and people could leave a comment or a question. So yeah, it's a really cool engagement feature. I tried doing live call-ins, but that didn't work as well. That kind of annoyed the audience. If you're free talk live, it works really well. But I think if you're a podcast, it's a little wonky and too technically annoying. But SpeakPipe really does a great job of allowing you to hear from your audience.
Unless you somehow know every call-in is going to be, with a microphone in a nice room, you're going to end up with a bunch of like crappy audio that can really
exactly
show that otherwise sounds, professional.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you, Chris. So I guess I'll jump into me. The only news that I have about Pax Libertas is we have just added our 7th podcast to the network. It is called the Big L Podcast, and it is hosted by Libertarian Party insider anarchist Karen Ann Harlos. And I am super excited about this show. She is already, so she did an introductory episode, and now we're right in the middle of a 3-part series on the importance and the history of the Statement of Principles, which is about the most libertarian part of the Libertarian Party these days. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, you guys know that I'm not a political libertarian anymore. I stay out of the politics as much as possible. However, there are a lot of political libertarians, and most of us got started there. So I think that it's important for there to be an unofficial Libertarian Party podcast out there, because there really isn't anything like that. And when I was thinking of who to have for the show, I was thinking either Thomas Knapp or Karen Ann Harlos, and Karen Ann agreed, and here we are. So definitely give that show a look at biglpodcast.com when you get a minute.
Here's the thing. I just drank with Karen 3 days ago, and she was like, I'm on Rodger's network. I'm like, son of a bitch.
I beat you.
You got her. Cool.
It's like an arms race with you two. A voice race.
Yeah, I was really glad to get her for sure.
No, she's cool. She spoke. I mean, I told her, I said, Rodger's a great guy. And she's like, oh, I know.
Yeah, and she knows her shit. I mean, she has really dug into the history of the party and the history of the statement of principles. And I mean, she's the party historian now, and that's what she does. And, being able to hear some of that and hear people bring that back, and it really goes to show what the party, and the reason I enjoy it so much is because it shows people what the party was versus what it is today. And it is a big difference. I mean, 40 years has really watered down the message of the Libertarian Party, except with the possible exception of the statement of principles. Now, the platform is pretty good, but there are some issues in the platform. But the statement of principles is about as libertarian as it fucking gets. And if we could just stick with that, if the party could just stick with that, and the politicians for the party, the candidates would stick with that, the party would be a hell of a lot better than it is today.
You know what the thing is, guys? I just got, I met Nick Sarwark this weekend. And, I've known him. There was a candidate here in Washington State which I rescinded my endorsement from. I don't know if you guys saw that thread.
I'm actually doing an interview tonight after the
with
show.
Matt Dugan?
No, with Michael Pickens, who I know kind of came in on that argument. Yeah, I'll let you describe it, but I'm going to ask. I plan to ask him about it.
Michael Pickens is a dick.
I'm going to start with my second question.
Tell him Chris Spangle says hello.
I will.
That'll immediately ruin the interview.
But like what the problem is it was a libertarian talking about some sort of reasonable gun control. And I'm like, I'm not going to support that. I'm not going to put my name with this person. And there's a lot of libertarians who are coming out or they're like, bullshit. We're not going to, but we got to win. We're in a progressive city, so we have to cave in. I'm like, no, we shouldn't. And this is like a problem to me. It's like the Libertarian Party is so worried about winning. I think this is an epidemic and a problem.
What was their definition of reasonable gun control?
Yeah, there's some sort of bill about weapons and sales to minors, and it's like 621. I can't remember the number.
Basically, the quote from Matt Dubin was that he said he's against whatever bill they were talking about. It was a question about a bill. He said, I am against this bill that they said I was for, but I would be okay with raising the minimum age and requiring reasonable background checks for purchasing semi-automatic rifles. That's the quote from a libertarian.
Oh, I mean, but I thought that's not libertarian. That's not a libertarian position, so I had a problem with it. So I didn't talk shit about the guy. I just said I'm rescinding my endorsement, and because I publicly gave it before. So, and I got shit for it, and that's fine. I don't give a shit one way or another. But I'm just saying to me, it's like that's an issue. Rodger, I got to hear your opinion on this.
Well, I mean, the only reasonable gun control is, keeping it on your hip. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there should be zero gun control, period. I mean, when you are primarily responsible for the life of yourself and your family, any encroachment on that right is an encroachment on your life. It is violence against your life, period. Now, the person who passed that law is, by definition, passing a law that could very well get me killed. That is violence, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Johnny. I would have absolutely pulled my support in a heartbeat over that.
Yeah, our job as libertarians are to craft messages that win hearts and convince people, and then that's how you win. It's not to water down the message. I mean, just as I wouldn't agree with any kind of free speech laws, when you look at the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Second Amendment, you can't start once you start chipping away at these little things. I think what it comes down to is a lot of libertarians just want to be liked. They're new to politics. They're new to having any kind of spotlight on them whatsoever. And so they're very hesitant to be criticized in any way, because when you're criticized publicly, it's very uncomfortable. And so they start to go, let me hedge here, let me hedge there. But that's not your job. You're not going to convince people by hedging. You're not going to win races by hedging. You're going to win races by messaging correctly. I think,
and by sticking by your principles.
Exactly. If you look at Larry Sharp was on Joe Rogan. He was on Glenn Beck. He's on all of these different shows because Larry Sharp is somebody who has learned how to message in a way that actually regular people outside of the people that we know about, that they care about. And that's the goal. The goal is not to, start chipping away at our rights to try and convince people to like you. That's people pleasing. That's just a cancer for the libertarian movement, for sure.
Absolutely. And I disagree with Larry Sharp on several of his LNC votes, for example, and other things that he has said and done. However, nobody or very few people today in the Libertarian Party speak the message as well, as clearly and consistently as Larry Sharp does. Now, I don't think that means, I don't think that means that he is, the primary libertarian today. I don't know if that means that he should run for president in 2020. I don't know, but I do appreciate his consistent message, even though I disagree with him on several things. I think that consistent message is so important, and that's something we didn't get out of Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, for example.
Yeah, Larry Sharp is black libertarian Jesus, Rodger, admit it.
Well, no, I don't know that to go that far because, like I said, we've had our disagreements in the past, but his consistent message is very important. I have no issue with his messaging. I've seen many of his interviews on these shows, Joe Rogan and these other shows, and he fucking nails it every time, hands down. So, at this point, even though I disagree with him on some things, I'm pretty firmly in his camp, I believe.
That's why I think Cody Wilson is such a dangerous person, is because Cody Wilson, when you watch him in interviews or you hear him, speak to libertarians on Tom Woods, he's so convincing and so firm about things.
And so consistent.
Yeah, and that's the swagger that people really want out of our candidates. It isn't this weak need. And that I totally agree about Gary Johnson. I mean, I voted for Gary Johnson and there was no other choice. In 2016.
There was sitting your ass at home, which is what I did.
Yeah, well, to me, that's not a choice. We disagree on that, but that's so. But there is the you made me lose my train of thought. God damn it!
Sorry,
that's okay.
That's my gimmick, losing my train of thought.
But no, like you watch him on 60 Minutes, and you're just like, dude, come on! Like, where's the 2006? Where's the 2012 Gary Johnson? I don't know. He went into these media interviews thinking, I'm going to just be likable and that'll get me by. And it's like, no, you're going to get ripped to shreds. If you show a hint of weakness when you go into the press, you're going to get ripped to shreds as a libertarian. That's why you have to go in there full-throated. I mean, that's just the way that it works. And there's...
Speaking of Larry Sharp, here's the thing. I think he's a great communicator. I think he does a great job of getting libertarian ideas out there. But the only problem I have with him is
that he's black. I know, Johnny. We've talked about this, and you just have to get over that some people don't look exactly like you.
No, but the thing is, I don't know where he stands on anything. He talks around the subject, but he never answers a question. And I've noticed that. I have no idea. I've watched numerous interviews with Larry Sharp, and I still don't know where he stands on things. I don't know what do you guys think?
Here's the thing, if you're Rodger, and I think Rodger would probably agree with this, not to put words in your mouth, Rodger, but
you don't want to do that.
I think if you are, it's a sliding scale. The more, let's say, I don't want to say pure, that's not the right word. The more radical of a libertarian or the more anarchist you are as a libertarian, the less electable you are in the eyes of the media in terms of people who are putting together debates. And so somebody like Larry Sharp, who is trying to go out and win his election, he's saying things in a way that are probably not as definite as you and most libertarians might like, but to the regular public they feel a little safer, because I think we're 150 years away from any idea of what a libertarian society might look like, because the education system has screwed us over so thoroughly that to be an American constitutionalist now is to be radical. If you're repeating Thomas Paine in the court of law, like Cody Wilson said, you're a radical. And so we're just so far away from those places that I think that's why somebody like a Larry Sharpe isn't as definite about that stuff or isn't as anarchist in his rhetoric.
I'm not certain that Larry Sharpe is an anarchist. I've never heard him say that he's an anarchist. He's taken positions on issues that I would say are not, pure libertarian, that are not anarchist. So I'm not certain that he is an anarchist. But to me, I don't think that you have to be the voice for the Libertarian Party. I don't expect 100% purity. I expect somebody who is a libertarian and who can say the message with conviction and actually speak a libertarian message. That was the issue with Gary Johnson and Bill Weld, is they were saying shit that was completely antithetical to libertarianism. They were advocating for violence against drug users, against people who had guns with more than 5 bullets in their clip, as fucking Bill Weld said. They were advocating for violence. I don't know that I've ever heard Larry Sharpe actually advocate for violence, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, so here's the problem that I think, I guess what I'm saying. If Darryl Perry got elected president tomorrow, or even let's say he were put in charge of an executive branch, let's say Larry Sharpe gets elected governor, he's going to have to, he will be faced with a lot of very unlibertarian choices where choice A and choice B, you've got to make one or the other, but it isn't necessarily like that's, I think, where the rubber meets the road for all of us libertarians. It's like the government is so much of a leviathan at this point that if you're going to run for office, if you're going to run in politics and run for an office, like it's very hard, I think, to just constantly say no. Well,
because I believe fully that it's impossible for an anarchist to take an oath of office. Period. Hands
that's
down.
That's kind of what I'm getting to. I think we'd agree on that. I think if you're Rodger, taking the oath of office and serving in a government, I mean, that would be a conflict, would it not?
It would, absolutely. But the point for anarchists, and let's be honest, libertarians are not going to be elected to office. We've tried for 40 plus years. As long as there's a first past the post election system like we have today, libertarians are not going to get elected to office. But we don't have to be elected to office to win the hearts and minds. As a matter of fact, by the time we are being elected to office, we've already won the hearts and minds. We can do this without winning elections. Mary Ruard has been talking about this for over a decade. Many libertarians have been. It's not about winning elections. It's about getting up there and preaching a principled, solid, non-contradictory libertarian message from the pulpit, from the bully pulpit. That's what libertarian candidates should be doing, and we're not seeing that. That's the purpose of Libertarian Party candidates, not to win, but to educate.
Let me have one slight disagreement with Rodger.
Oh no.
I don't think it's that Libertarian Party candidates are not doing that. I think it's that we focus on the ones that are like this guy who's advocated. I think the social media echo chamber drowns out the good candidates, which is why I'm glad our friend Marc is doing the show that he's doing, because there are really good candidates running in the Libertarian Party. There are really good leaders, but I think our movement sometimes just focuses on the people who are impure, the heretics, too much. And so we get the sense that the Libertarian Party is doing X, Y, and Z, when maybe that's like less than 20% of the candidates that are like this guy.
Well, and you're right. And when I said libertarian candidates, I meant the high-profile ones, the presidential candidates, the Senate candidates, the high-profile ones. You're right. There are many, lockstep, lower-end, libertarians running for lower-end offices that absolutely preach the message wonderfully. And I appreciate everything that they do because they're educating people, and that's what the Libertarian Party should be about. So you're absolutely right.
Is it almost inevitable that any political party that ends up growing is going to, I don't like to say have to deal, because I think we should always, raise objections when we find stances to not be principled or not be in line with the right principles. But is it just inevitable that if you're going to have a party like this and you do want it to grow, it's going to end up having people that take quote unquote impure positions? I mean, just for example, even in the Candidates of Liberty show, I would say, I'm just guessing, we've done 8 episodes. I would say at least half of those have expressed a nuanced position on, let's say, immigration. And really the libertarian position to its pure extent is not nuanced really at all. It's an open borders statement of principles. It's an open borders philosophy in that way. So you could say that all of them are impure, or anybody that takes even a nuanced position is impure. And I get it's an issue that there is nuance to it in some sense, but there isn't if we're talking about maintaining a strict libertarian principle. So, I mean, how do you guys feel about that? I mean, I think there's some cases where the gun statement by Matt Dubin, I think that's an easy one to just say that's unlibertarian and should be spoken out against. Maybe it's not easy in every area.
That's why I make the case that you can take the whore to church, but don't have her preaching from the pulpit the next Sunday. Yes, we want the Libertarian Party to be Big Tent and bring those baby libertarians in so they can listen to people like Karen Ann Harlows or people like me and Marc and Johnny and Chris, explaining what real libertarianism is to these people. And yes, I did include Chris on that, believe it or not.
I was about to make a joke about that. I'm glad you.
But he's better. He's better than most. He's still not 100%, but he's better than most. But we need them in the party, to hear that message and to hear it over and over and over again. So either they A, start to agree with it, or B, they get the fuck out. But the issue is we do not need those kind of libertarians running for office. That's where I draw the line. And that's why the party is no longer the party of principle, because we're running candidates who are spitting the message out there officially representing the Libertarian Party, and they're not spitting out libertarianism.
One of the things that I tried to do on my show is present a menu of options. And I always go to the pure perspective first and say, listen, this is on something like immigration. There is no doubt that open borders is the pure position. Now you can believe B or C or D, and you can have these positions and you can look at it this way, but you have to reconcile that within yourself. You can't like, and we do have people who are very good, people like the Mises Institute, confusing issues like immigration, because once you start applying it to government policy, you've got Mises scholars like Lou Rockwell, for instance, giving speeches, where Lou Rockwell gave the speech arguing for closed borders and said, it's a violation of the NAP that you might have to live next to somebody who doesn't share your values. What?
Yeah, Lou Rockwell's a train wreck in a lot of cases.
And so you have somebody who I consider is very good on most issues. That's a position that I just don't agree with. I'm sorry. Trying to fit libertarianism into a new box, and I don't agree with that. You just accept that you might have cognitive. I think every one of us, except maybe Rodger, would admit that we have cognitive dissonance on some things where we may have an opinion where you're just like, I get it. I'm unlibertarian on this thing. This is just my trigger, and I blah 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 blah. And I think we all have that. But so what I try to do is just say, listen, here's the pure libertarian position. Here's these other options. Try and work yourself towards this pure position. But I understand that it does take some heavy lifting to get to that place. But I think to your point, Marc, as a party grows, the more power they have, and the more power you have, the more it attracts people who want power. And people who desire power, people who desire control over other people, are inherently unlibertarian people. And so we will be, as in the Libertarian Party, a victim of our own success if it ever were to grow bigger than it is right now.
I question people who are very hungry for power. That's my thing. It's like, if you really want power, it's like him. She was laughing. She said, if I actually win, we ain't going to be there very long.
Good for her. Well, I mean, and again, would she consciously, and I don't know Kim personally very well, but would she consciously be able to take that oath of office? Knowing what I know about her, I don't know that she could without lying about it, because that oath is pretty strong, and she's an anarchist. I don't think she could do it.
We're going to fucking just destroy everything through executive orders and just get rid of it all.
Fuck shit up.
But first you have to swear to uphold an oath to the Constitution. And I think, Rodger, you're inherently opposed to the United States Constitution, are you not?
100%. It's unfit to exist.
So swearing to uphold something you want to destroy is a personal conflict, and that's part of the,
Yeah, I think it'd be fraudulent to do so. I think that, standing up there, swearing an oath to something that you have no compunction about, not having an oath to, I think that's fraudulent. 100%.
Does every office have an oath? I mean, is there like an oath for like city councilmen?
Yes.
Do they all say the same thing? I honestly don't know.
Most of them are pretty much the same. The city ones will generally, hey, I swear an oath to the city charters and the state constitution and the U.S. Constitution kind of thing. But yeah, they're all pretty similar.
Even if we did go back to a constitutional republic, right, that would be better than what we have now, right? I would just go as far as saying the goddamn Articles of Confederation are better than the Constitution.
Oh, 100%. No question about it.
That's always my argument. Like trying to sell people on anarchy Rodger's just going to be better at that. But I think most people, when you look at my audience, like, okay, let's just get to the Constitution, because people can kind of accept the Constitution. And if you explain the Constitution and how libertarian leaning it is, and then how far away from it we are, it's like a good guidepost to explain to people, and that's really why I like to lean on the Constitution, because it's so part of our DNA, part of our education, that when you really explain what the Constitution says and how government was supposed to operate according to the founders, and then look at how far away from it we are, people go, oh, wow. And then once you sort of rattle their cage a little bit and you get them thinking about other things, then they go, oh, okay, well, I don't believe anything. I don't know what I believe. I better start researching. And then, they either end up at Bakunin or Rothbard.
Chris, I have some homework for you. But before our next episode, I would love it if you would read Lysander Spooner's Constitution of No Authority, and then tell me that the Constitution is a good baseline, because it is absolutely not. It is a horrendous document that has done nothing but put chains on us. That's it.
But if you were trying to message, my point is that if you're trying to message, that's different than how you're trying to craft government policy, is what I'm saying. I get that,
but you were saying that it's a good guidepost, and I absolutely disagree. And I think that you probably would as well if you actually dug into it and read Constitution of No Authority.
I actually purchased it last month on Kindle, so I will do that.
Oh, please do, because I really think that it will. Because I tell you, I was just like you. Gosh, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, where I believed that the Constitution was a very libertarian document. I fully believed it. I mean, it was in my blood. Because I just could not get past that. But it was the writings of people like Lysander Spooner, and primarily.
I'm not unaware that any level of government and any level of authority over other people is inherently unlibertarian. I'm fully aware of that. But my job is to try and get people to. I'm trying to create cracks in the foundation. How I became a libertarian is that cracks were formed in the foundation of my thinking. So I fully understand exactly what you're saying. I'm not saying that the Constitution is the perfect document. I'm saying I use that as a tool to try and get new people to think differently. I think that's what I'm trying to say, not necessarily that the Constitution is the document that I would design over other people.
Yeah, I just think it was a messaging issue then, because you mentioned guidepost and libertarian leaning, and that's kind of the impression I got. So
sure.
I misunderstood. I apologize. But I mean, I think that we would all be more free if we lived, if 1776 politics were in today's society? Yes, I do. I fully believe that. However, I also have no question that it would take much less than 242 years for us to get from 1776 style politics to where we are today if we started all over. It would take more like 20 years instead of the 242 years it's taken, because number one, we've seen how easy it is to shift that document and to ignore that document. I mean, that's why Lysander Spooner said it was unfit to exist, because it either gave us the government that we have, or it was unable to stop the government that we have. In either case, it's unfit to exist.
No, I think this is human nature. Human nature is that there are some people that, there's no doubt that Donald Trump has a different way of thinking about other humans than anybody on this podcast right now. He wants to control other people. He wants to dominate other people. And there's people on the left who want to control and dominate other people. We don't have that desire. And so how do you set up a society where those people are the ones that are ostracized instead of promoted? I think if given the choice, if we just completely went blank slate right now, we'd probably end up with pretty much what we have now, I think. And so what you have to do is you have to change the human heart, and you have to change minds to understand that you are not in charge of other people. You are only in charge of yourself.
Okay. I got to run in. I got to say something here.
Yes, sir.
The thing is, if we just start ignoring laws, if everyone in this country just said, government sucks, we don't believe in it, it will lose all authority, 100%. And that's what we want to do as podcasters. And this is what we're doing. We're trying to change people's minds and how they view things. If we don't give it respect, or we don't honor the state, then we'll win. Because if whatever they say is invalid to us, everyone in the country, then we win. Because they'll be like, you guys got to do this. We'll be like, fuck you. That's how we win. And I think the purpose of the Libertarian Party is to educate. I really do. Because they're not going to, they may win a couple spots here and there, but all it's doing is slowing down the Leviathan. It's all it's doing. That's all we're doing, is slowing shit down right now. So until we get to a point where people are really, really believing in the ideas of liberty, all we're going to do is slow it down. And that's the Libertarian Party. That's their function, and to educate people. And that's our job as podcasters / entertainers, to make sure that they, are getting the message, the pure message of liberty, and making sure it's understood and it's palatable. Like there's a lot of libertarians out there that the shows are so fucking boring. I want to shoot myself.
Shit.
And that's the thing. It's like we make this shit fun. And this is what we're entertainers above libertarians. Or that's how I view myself, because it's like we can't really get the message out there if we're not making someone laugh or smile or think about something.
So I think that we need to kind of wrap up. Chris, did you have something else to say?
Yeah, I just want to say, my show is very topical. What I do is I talk about the news of the day, because I think people have questions like, what does a libertarian think about Brett Kavanaugh? What does a libertarian think about X, Y, and Z?
I don't think about Brett Kavanaugh.
I know you don't, and so, but
he's just another person who wants to rule over us. Fuck him.
Sure.
He's just another ruler. That's it.
No, we can fuck him in the neck. I totally agree. But what I'm saying is there are people out in the world who want to know what we think about X, Y, and Z. And if you look at my numbers on on my show, it's like people are on these big issues. The numbers are just way up. They're huge. Like the detention of immigrant children is like 10,000 downloads right now.
Last week, our shows Brian did about Kavanaugh, and then it's not just about Kavanaugh; it's about related issues. But that's the headline. And then Odie did a whole thing about repressed memory. Those are two biggest shows of the last 2 weeks. I mean, 2 or 3 biggest shows, and it's noticeably higher than the others. And I
wasn't even on the 2 shows that posted last week, and they're already outpacing a regular We Are Libertarians because
maybe that's a sign from the free market. Speaking.
Honestly, Brian Nichols, and Sarah Brady Wagner are better than me. I get it, but I think we need the Libertarian Party. We need libertarian candidates in the other 2 parties, the 2 major parties, or Green Party, or Independent, or wherever, because people our friends and family, we all know this anecdotally, they start asking us about politics and what libertarians believe around election time. They didn't care last year when there were no elections. And that's really the point. And so you have to have good, solid, strong campaigns. Like Mark Rutherford, for instance, here in Indiana is running a really strong campaign. So is Lucy Brenton for Senate. These are 2 people who are running Jeremiah Morrill, the boss hog of liberty. So people in their community look to it and they go, well, if I can't get a yard sign from you, then libertarians are just worthless. So I think you do have to have good campaign fundamentals as well as the good messaging part too, because people want to vote for winners.
I think we only need a Libertarian Party if that Libertarian Party is a principled Libertarian Party. Otherwise, it is a useless party. But I think we need to wrap it up because Chris's laptop's about to die. Mark has an interview to do, and I think Johnny's got to run too. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Mark. Any last thoughts?
Last thoughts are that everyone should listen to all of the League of Liberty podcasts, specifically Lions of Liberty, in our amazing 3-show variety show format. Felony Fridays on Fridays. Brian McWilliams hits you with awesome current event analysis on Wednesdays, and I talk a bunch too. So check us all out. We're doing good stuff. And check out our Patreon where you can see this video.
Absolutely. Chris, I'll pass it on to you next. What's your final thoughts, sir?
I love the 3 of you. I love all of our listeners. I love even the patrons of your shows who may not listen to mine. I invite you over to take a gander. My show is not nearly as statist as Rodger portrays. So Mark can vouch for that, please, Mark.
Yeah, you're not a statist.
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
Not a statist, as Rodger says.
He had to think about that.
I will fly out and kill you right now and strangle you with your own hair. I'm sorry. I am a libertarian. I don't mean that I would actually kill. So, no, thank you for listening to this show. Thank you for listening to all of our shows. It's just important to support independent media that you love now more than ever because it's an ever-tightening noose around independent media. And it's getting tougher and tougher and tougher to get these shows to grow organically. And the only way to really do it is through word of mouth. And so we need you guys sharing our podcast, saying, I love these guys. And almost all of us will give you a retweet. I always retweet anybody that says anything nice about We Are Libertarians. So please share that you love our shows and what you love about them. Invite people to listen.
Good advice.
Here.
Rock and roll, man.
Johnny, last thoughts, sir.
Man, I'll tell you what. Yeah, again, all of you guys. I listen to all your shows. Really good stuff. And we are the future. I mean, we really are. We're the ones who are making the groundwork for other libertarians to create more content. Like Launchpad Media, I'm still doing that. It's great. We're doing really well. We have a new show called The Law with DK Williams. It's getting rave reviews. A new show, Postcards from Somalia. We have Alex Merced doing Nice Guys Finish Free. We have Sounds Like Liberty with Nick Picone. We have just amazing shows. And I'm excited to be part of Launchpad Media. It's doing really good. Again, you can check us out at thelaunchpadmedia.com. And our show is Blast Off with Raylene. And Raylene is a firecracker. I love that woman. And
she's amazing.
Yeah, we're having fun. We're really having fun doing the show. And I'm excited with the new adventures that we're going to kind of, my personal life with Kim. And then Kim's doing a show probably in November with Sarah Daggers.
Oh, nice. Love both of them. That's awesome.
Yes. And it's called, I can't tell you the name. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. So right now, the only thing I'm doing is I'm trying to find out what I'm going to call the new studio. So this is base one, and I got to find a new name for the new studio.
I think that the Marc, Rodger, Chris studios are appropriate.
MRC. I like it.
Yeah.
That sounds good, actually. MRC. I like the atmosphere.
MRC.
That's good.
I was thinking Ground Zero. What do you guys think of that? Ground Zero Studios.
Yeah, why not? All right, so the last thing that I have to say is no gods, no masters, fuck status to the neck, and keep striking the root. So for Mark, for Johnny, for Chris, I am Rodger Paxton, and Liberty, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Come on,
My
guys.
God, you got
That was terrible. Okay, we're going to have to do that again now.
It's been so long due to Rodger's delays that I forgot that we even had a catchphrase.
I mean, he was prompting us. He couldn't have. He could have skywritten it, and Mark would have missed it.
So we're going to do that one more time. Liberty, fuck
yeah. Now, Liberty.